Close your eyes for a moment and picture the world before movies existed. No TV, no YouTube, no video calls. If you wanted to see a story come to life, you had to watch a play, read a book, or hear it told around a fire. But in the late 1800s, something extraordinary happened. Scientists, inventors, and dreamers began to wonder, could we capture life itself, not as a still photograph, but as something that moved, something alive? In December of 1895, in a small basement in Paris, two brothers, Auguste and Louis Lumière, answered that question. They invited a paying audience to witness the impossible. On a white sheet illuminated by their invention, the cinematograph, moving images danced across the surface. Workers streamed out of a factory. A train approached the station. Horses trotted past. The crowd gasped. Some ducked as the train drew near, thinking it would burst from the wall. It was the birth of a new art form, one that would grow to shape the very fabric of culture, politics, and human connection.
But let's rewind even further. Before cinema, there were centuries of visual experiments, shadow plays in China, magic lantern projections in Europe, optical toys like the zoetrope that tricked the eye into seeing movement. Photography had already captured frozen moments, but the idea of animating those moments was pure magic. In America, Thomas Edison created the kinetoscope, a peephole device for individual viewing. Across the Atlantic, the Lumière brothers saw something more: cinema as a shared experience. That difference, the collective viewing, the shared gasp, the communal laughter, is what made cinema more than just a trick of light. And then came Georges Méliès, a magician who realized cinema could do more than show reality. It could create dreams. In his 1902 masterpiece, A Trip to the Moon, a rocket ship lands in the eye of the moon. People were stunned, not just by what they saw, but by the realization that the impossible could be made visible. Special effects were born. In these early decades, films were silent, accompanied by live musicians in theaters. Actors had to overexpress, grand gestures, wide eyes, so audiences understood the emotion without dialogue. Intertitles filled in the missing words. Then came America's West Coast, and a sleepy little town called Hollywood. Why Hollywood? Sunshine for filming year-round, varied landscapes within driving distance, and, importantly, distance from Edison's tight patent control. By the 1910s, filmmakers were flocking west. The 1920s brought the full power of the Hollywood studio system. MGM, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Universal. They owned the sound stages, the cameras, the editing rooms, and the stars themselves. Actors were under exclusive contracts. Directors worked inside controlled systems. It was a factory for dreams. And in 1927, with The Jazz Singer, the first synchronized sound film, the world changed. Al Jolson's voice rang out, "You ain't heard nothing yet." And indeed, they hadn't. Silent films vanished almost overnight. The 1930s and 40s became the golden age of Hollywood. Genres solidified: westerns, musicals, romantic comedies, film noir. We got Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz, Casablanca. Stars like Clark Gable, Katharine Hepburn, and Humphrey Bogart defined glamour. Directors like Alfred Hitchcock mastered suspense. Orson Welles redefined storytelling with Citizen Kane. But Hollywood wasn't alone. Across the world, other countries were forging their own cinematic identities. In Britain, cinema was often literary and refined. Early films adapted Shakespeare. Later came the witty Ealing comedies, and then the grand historical epics of David Lean, Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai. Today, Britain produces global auteurs like Christopher Nolan and Danny Boyle, and a steady stream of iconic actors from Laurence Olivier to Emma Thompson. In India, Cinema exploded after Raja Harishchandra in 1913. Bollywood became synonymous with song, dance, and emotion. But the industry is vast, with Tollywood, Collywood, and other regional cinemas producing everything from intimate dramas to action spectacles. Directors like Satyajit Ray won worldwide acclaim, while stars like Amitabh Bachchan and Shah Rukh Khan became cultural icons commanding fan bases in the hundreds of millions.
South Korea's story is different. Its early cinema faced censorship and suppression, but from the 1990s onward, Korean films began winning over both domestic and international audiences. The Korean New Wave, directors like Park Chan-wook with Old Boy, Bong Joon-ho with Parasite, brought bold storytelling and sharp social commentary. In 2020, Parasite made history as the first non-English language film to win the Oscar for Best Picture. Elsewhere, France's Nouvelle Vague, the New Wave, tore up the rulebook in the 1960s. Directors like Jean-Luc Godard and François Truffaut shot on location, used handheld cameras, and broke traditional narrative structure. Japan gave us Akira Kurosawa, whose samurai epics influenced George Lucas's Star Wars, and Studio Ghibli's Hayao Miyazaki, whose hand-drawn worlds became beloved worldwide. China and Hong Kong produced martial arts masters like Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, as well as visual poets like Zhang Yimou, whose films Hero and House of Flying Daggers stunned with their color and choreography. But cinema is more than stars and stories. It's a technological evolution. The first cameras were hand-cranked boxes. Then came sound on film. Technicolor brought The Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind to dazzling life. Widescreen formats like CinemaScope expanded our view. Special effects evolved from in-camera tricks to elaborate model work. 2001, A Space Odyssey built entire space stations in miniature. Then came the revolution of CGI. Jurassic Park brought dinosaurs back from extinction. The Matrix bent the laws of physics. IMAX gave us towering screens, 3D had waves of popularity, and motion capture turned actors into creatures. Think Gollum in The Lord of the Rings or the Na'vi in Avatar. Today, most films are shot digitally. Editing is nonlinear, meaning you can jump between scenes instantly on a computer. Visual effects can create entire worlds without a single physical set, and distribution has shifted. Streaming services release films globally in seconds. Cinema's history is also the history of its greats. Steven Spielberg, the master of wonder and adventure. Martin Scorsese, chronicler of the human soul's darker corners. James Cameron, forever pushing the limits of technology. Akira Kurosawa, blending epic storytelling with deep humanity. Wong Kar-wai, crafting poetic portraits of love and longing. Actors like Meryl Streep, Denzel Washington, Toshiro Mifune, Song Kang-ho, Irfan Khan, each bringing unique presence to the screen. And the films Casablanca, Pulp Fiction, Sholay, Old Boy, Spirited Away. More than entertainment, they're cultural touchstones, shaping language, style, and even politics. From the first flicker in a Paris basement to immersive VR headsets, cinema has never stopped evolving. The tools change, from hand-crank cameras to digital sensors, from live orchestras to Dolby Atmos sound, but the purpose remains the same: to make us feel. In the future, we may watch holographic films that fill entire rooms. We may see stories tailored by AI to our own emotions. But when the lights dim and the first frame appears, we'll still feel that same spark as the people who gasped at a train on a screen in 1895. Cinema is not just a window into other worlds, it's a mirror to our own. And as long as we have stories to tell, cinema will live on.